Welcome to the Banana Republic of the United States, where freedom is leaving. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard to Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, June the 2nd. And of course, obviously, everybody knows of the verdict in the Trump trial and whether he was guilty or not. To be able to go against or put under trial a political opponent to try to win an election is kind of against everything this country is all about. And of course, the whole thing was, in my opinion, nothing more than a bunch of bullshit, a hoax, a way of trying to manipulate the system. But really, if you think about it, it's more about the stealing of your freedom. Because once again, we have something now that you have to worry about, because if it can happen to the right side of the aisle, then certainly at some point it can happen to the left side of the aisle. And of course, it can happen to you. So you got to really think about what is going on in this country and the destruction, because the way that they are stealing our freedom, the way that the extremely wealthy, the George Soroses of the world, are manipulating and controlling things. The great puppeteers are destroying your freedom, your ability to make capital, your ability to go into business. And I think that, it's something that you really have to think about. And we'll talk about more of that in our commentary. But again, whatever the verdict was, the instructions were wrong, the judge was wrong. And of course, you are seeing an uproar even throughout the globe that the conservative nations that are trying to give freedom are backing President Trump, and the countries that want to keep people enslaved and have serfs are now backing, of course, President Biden. So I think it should really tell you something about what is happening in the world itself, and including in the United States, because we no longer have the same freedom we had just 25 or 30 years ago. And again, I'm saying to you this straight out, so you can take that for what it's worth. In the meantime, you've now seen what's going on in Canada. And of course, an asset manager blocks the cash distribution on private cash funds. So now in Canada, they're now playing with companies' money. We saw this a couple of years ago in Canada. We're seeing it again. And of course, we're seeing it here. So I think these are things to be concerned about. And of course, if you're a consumer, you have to be angry about the overall economy, because of course you're getting destroyed. All right. We have this constant battle with inflation that the Fed is trying to somehow thread a needle. Instead of letting the free market trade it out and figure it out, you have the Federal Reserve and the United States government involved trying to manipulate numbers that will really hurt the average American, not help the average American. And to me, it's almost a criminal event, because of course we continue to see that average America is spending more money than they're taking in. We have more job layoffs. Okay, we have a lot of shitty jobs that are created. And of course, Friday we'll have a new jobs number, and you will see that once again the majority of the jobs created will be government jobs, which means you and me, the taxpayer, get to pay more money for more lousy employees that aren't going to do anything and that are not needed. So again, it continues to be the battle of trying to protect ourselves, the middle class. And of course, I think if you don't fight for your rights, if you don't stand up for yourself, I think you're going to find out that this is not going to be your happy place. Okay, because what is the destruction that is being created by the Biden administration is costing you more money, taking away more of your freedom, destroying an economy, destroying free markets, destroying the ability for anybody to come and be a small business that could grow into a large business. And of course, the Philadelphia Fed GDP revised significantly lower, but they say there's no recession yet. Well, again, I think recession is, you have to look at it, and that no government agency, no report is going to indicate a recession until it's already passed. Okay. Now, again, we are in the presidential election cycle, which is hard to imagine that markets will go down. They have been up 65% of the time during a presidential election. But on Friday, of course, we saw at the end of last week, we saw some heavy selling. And then, of course, we saw one of the biggest short squeeze rips Friday afternoon. We'll see. I would think that the markets are probably headed a little bit lower here. I mean, I don't think it'll be devastation. I think that, you'd expect some pullback, but we'll get more of that in our market report. But I think the Fed's got more to worry about than just inflation right now. And it's a sad story when the Federal Reserve has to be involved in anything because they are way out of their league as to what they do. And basically they're morons. Okay. Again, you go into that glass tower of the Federal Reserve and you become an instant moron because you can see that they don't do anything correct and they're so far off what their mantra is that it's ridiculous. Okay. The inflation rate cuts aren't coming. You can beg and squeal for rate cuts, but they're not coming. Okay. You have a higher probability of a rate hike than a rate cut. And again, the only way we're getting a cut is a political message or that we're really into a deep depression. So I think you have to look at the situation and look at your freedom. But I think what you really want to remember is it starts with you. Okay. How is your life? How is your spending? Are you able to save? Do you have money for an emergency? These are things that nobody thinks about. And of course, you know that I often quote the Martin Niemöller poem, which is, just to sum it up, if you keep waiting until it affects you, then by the time it affects you, there'll be nobody around to help you. And I don't understand how we cannot see clearly that the economy sucks, okay, that businesses are going out, that people are not working, that the people that are working multiple jobs just to be able to pay their basic bills. So yes, we are in a banana republic, but that'll be more part of our commentary as well. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, June the 2nd. We're going to step out of our break and we'll be back with our market report right after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line. What's up, kids? Hope you're having a great week. Hope you had a good Memorial Day week holiday. In the meantime, always want to remind you of our sponsors. Now, our sponsors are brokerage partners. So again, I do have other brokers to give you full disclosure, but these are ones I just urge you to check out. Again, if you don't want to check them out, that's up to you, but I think there's very valid reasons to do so. And of course, Capital Trading Group, which is our futures broker. And of course, they do all of our letter of direction trading and our partners on some of our products. But at the end of the day, they do a great job from a letter of direction standpoint. They do a great job for you, the customer and the client. And I think that it's worth checking out, and go to info.capitaltradinggroup.com/Bubba. It's on the sides here scrolling for you as well. And of course, Trader Brokerage for options and equities. Look, it saves me about $100,000 a year in commission. Okay. They're $10 a month flat. They fit with our automation. We're able to automate many of our programs through them. So, hey, it's up to you, but certainly they're worth checking out either way. Okay. That's TRADIER.com, and check them out. You can go on the side and get the exact address. And of course, Wall Charts, which is a platform we're now using that also ties in with TRADIER. But check them out. And of course, our high school program, which we keep trying to rebuild. And, of course, with all these government regulations, we keep getting strapped down. But in the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, Todd Bubba Horwitz, and talk about our markets and what they did last week. In the meantime, we'll get back right now. Welcome back. This is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, June the 2nd. And of course, markets had an interesting week. They were lower on the week, but pretty wild. And what a close you saw on Friday. The inflation data was not very good. We continue to have high inflation without any sign of real relief. And it's going to be interesting to see as we move forward when we come out with next month's report, when crude oil is up about 15% from what was last month, because that is probably one of our biggest expenses that we talk about. In the meantime, we've got, a whole bunch of stuff going on, and we were having a good week until, of course, Friday, when the markets exploded higher because we were short money. But in the meantime, again, that's part of the business. We don't worry about it. And of course, just to go down in the indexes, we are short the Dow, we are short the S&P, we are short the Russell, and we are long, still long the NASDAQ. And again, remember that those are just the base positions that Monday morning we can, tomorrow morning we can change and be flat. Okay, we won't reverse direction. We could be either flat or in, but the trend is still in those veins. Okay, and of course in the bonds and the notes we are short once again, and of course that is an indication that interest rates are going higher. And again, you can talk and listen to all the begging and whining on TV of all the people who tell you there's going to be a rate cut. There is no way there's a cut coming. They cannot get away with it unless there's a need. But with the high inflation, they can't cut again because that's only going to fuel inflation even higher. And since the average American can't save any money and the debt level is so high, this is a real conundrum, a real problem. And of course, it does lead to the real potential of stagflation. In the meantime, in the precious metals, had an interesting week. We would be short gold, we would be long silver, platinum we know in trade, but we'd be long. And again, that is something that I won't know exactly until tomorrow morning. In the meantime, in the crude oil markets, crude was higher for the week, although had some late selling at the end of the week, but marginally higher, which we are still short. Natural gas had an up week slightly, and we are long the natural gas markets. Again, it was very narrowly. They were both much higher and both came back down. In the grain markets, we would be long the grains across the board, but we will be shorting soybeans tonight or tomorrow, again, depending on when you want to do it. So coming into the week, we'll be long corn, long wheat, and short soybeans. Although we don't trade the meats anymore, I am still short cattle. I am still long hogs. In the copper, we are still long. And of course, if you remember last week, I said that copper was spiking so high that it was probably a pretty good chance for a short-term trade to the short side, which would have worked out fairly well. Bitcoin, we're still long as well. And of course, it's still just chopping around between that 65 or 64 and 76,000. And then, of course, in the softs, cocoa is higher. We are long. Cotton was lower. We are short. Sugar, we're short. Coffee, we're long. And OJ, we are short. So again, I think when you look at the bigger picture, okay, things don't look all that great. And of course, I didn't mention the dollar, which we would be short, but we don't trade it. And again, it's not because we have anything against the dollar. It's just simply because of a cost issue dealing with New York. But we are long the euro currency, which is, of course, the other side of the dollar, because the euro currency makes up 56% of the euro currency. So again, I think it was a interesting week. I think that for now, the tops are probably in. I think you want to look to sell rallies. And I think that tonight or tomorrow's opening will be very interesting and something to check out. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horowitz. We're going to step out here for our final break and come back with, of course, our commentary right after the break. Bubba's Bottom Line. Well, kids, what's up? Just a quick reminder. I'm not going to go through the whole spiel, but just a quick reminder of of our sponsors: Trader Brokerage, Capital Trading Group, Wealth Charts, and of course our high school program. Scrolling on the sides or on the bottom. And again, obviously, I urge you just to check them out. It has nothing to do with whether or not it's good or not. I think you're going to find out that they're very good because I use them myself. I do have others, but there is always a good reason. The last thing I just want to remind you is, there's a lot of companies that try to do both futures and equities. I think you want to stay away from those. You do not get the best service. You get little slips on both, on a broker that tries to do both. In the meantime, let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line with me, Todd Bubba Horowitz, and go to my commentary. Welcome back. It is Bubba's Bottom Line. It is Sunday, June the 2nd, and what's up, everybody? We got a hell of a commentary here. I tell you, I don't even know where to start, but we are living in a banana republic. We do have an imbecile as the chief, okay, the commander-in-chief. I can't even call him commander-in-chief because he's an imbecile. But did you hear his speech after the verdict was announced? I mean, for a political battle to be won in a courtroom and a political court from the instruction given to the jury by Judge Merchan, who I think he'll find himself in trouble. But what we've really seen now is the opening up of the potential of going after political opponents, and even as so much as creating evidence that doesn't exist. Now, I'm not saying that this evidence doesn't exist. It has nothing to do with this, but it's the very point that you can go after your own political opponent to get him out of the race. But I do believe that this is probably going to be the story that leads Trump to victory now, because I think a lot of people are starting to realize that we aren't free in this country right now under this administration, that they're doing too much trying to manipulate people, and they've got too much of the, we'll call it the deep state, but whatever you want to call it. There are stories of those who have a great deal of wealth that are puppeteering a lot of this action from the behind the scenes. And of course, it's been the case for many, many years. This is not, a lot of this is not new, but it's, I don't think it's ever reached the height that it has before. But if you think that you have freedom, you don't. Okay, your freedom is being destroyed one step at a time, one day at a time, and with everything that they do, from the way that they create more government jobs that cost you more money in taxes, from the hiking in taxes, because again, think about how much of your money goes to taxes, from your lack to earn a living, through the high costs of inflation, all because we have a kangaroo court and a banana republic that we now live in. And of course, again, whether you like Trump or not, you cannot be happy that this whole trial even went through, because you and me, the taxpayer, got to pay for all that. Okay. And whether you like him or not, you can't like that they can go after and put on a pressure on their own, on a political opponent who is trying to run for office. Okay. Because I guarantee you that every president in the last 50 years has something in their closet that they should be going to jail for. Okay. But of course, we've said this and talked about this before. For the last 10 years, Donald Trump has been in the headlines every single day. But I do believe that this is going to help him, put him over the top, because I think that this whole trial, this banana republic that we are now representing, because the world leaders that are from the conservative side, and again, I'm not telling you to be conservative liberal, I'm telling you to be whatever you want to be personally, but I think you should be fiscally conservative so that all of our money doesn't get flushed down the toilet. So if you're happy living in a banana republic, hey, I can't tell you what to do, but certainly things are going to be very rocky here. And if things like this continue, there will be another revolutionary or civil war in this country. This is Bubba's Bottom Line, top Bubba Horwitz. I hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you back here tomorrow with Bubba's Daily Update. In the meantime, enjoy. Thanks, and we'll see you later.